Good evening, guys. Welcome to the 11th episode of the Due North Political Podcast. Is it hot enough for you, gentlemen?
I'm a Southern boy, here. So
only.
So
everybody's air conditioning and ready to go, right?
Or okay, we should say, what's air conditioning?
What are we, French?
We start off the show with Jobs of Rubio. I don't think he was in France this week. First one is this. We've got FIFA going on, so we had some ref problems, so he decided he was going to be a ref. And then we have this Sophie Cunningham. They're pointing at each other. That's a popular meme. And then he's not in this picture, but I heard he set up this meeting today. I heard he organized that meeting, so good for Rubio. Those two guys need to come together. Did you see that video, guys?
Yeah.
Yep.
It was real.
Welcome to
I watched it a couple of times. Yeah. I just thought that guy was moving a little too fast for his age. It was real. Then I saw it on news, had it on. Like, you got to be kidding me. That was real. But
they probably sped the video up, but the 8-foot hooking and throwing was 100% real. Like,
it was amazing how that buffalo just he sniffed him out of that trees. I mean, you couldn't even see the guy, but he makes 2 trips around there. Like, I'm gonna find you, dude. I mean, it was intentional.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're in peak rut right now.
Thank God the guy survived.
Yeah.
Thank God, but he's hurt. But it was pretty amazing. So now there's bison and buffalo videos all over the place about Yellowstone. That's all you see online. Well, we start our first segment, My 2 Cents. And this one, folks, I set the premise. And then our guys here, they get to answer based on giving us their 2 cents. So here's my premise for tonight. Tonight's kind of an AI night because of our hot seat spotlight. We've got Aaron in tonight. So we're gonna talk about the morals of AI. I want to start with AI currently has the capability of acting as a portfolio for experts at your fingertips, as long as you know the proper questions to ask it. Within a couple of years, it's predicted singularity is going to be achieved. Think self-improvement. AI is going to become capable of continual self-improvement that will transform human civilization in ways we can't even imagine. The issue I want to discuss with you is that of limiting principles. Us 4 gentlemen are governed by a moral code, a foundation of limiting principles, so to speak. Even those of us with limiting principles, it takes discernment not to abuse that power. And AI is going to make that even more difficult. Imagine AI now in the hands of government or people without limiting principles, without a moral code. And you see a major problem potentially. So I want to hear from you. What are your AI concerns, if any? And we'll start with Ryan.
Well, when we first saw movies 40 years ago, like the Terminator and War Games, where computers and machines learned and were able to think on their own, we thought it was just way too futuristic for what could actually happen. But 40 years later, and here we are, we're getting there. I don't know. I think AI is going to be a situation, or isn't going to be a situation like it is with countries of the world that have worked in cooperation for instance, on Antarctica and how they've treated that continent. Instead, it's going to be dealing with the likes of China and Russia and even our own government, where it's a race to develop AI is going to be like the nuclear arms race was in the 50s and 60s. With that, we've seen how China, with TikTok, social media companies, how they've turned our younger generation's brains into mush and completely addicted to the phone. We've seen what our government and how they've handled what was supposedly supposed to be a fair Patriot Act, but we've seen what they've done to U.S. citizens now with that. We've seen what the Biden administration has done with cell phone records of Trump and other Republicans. So based on prior history, I don't know that we can trust other governments, let alone our own, to act in a moral and ethical way as it comes to AI. It's just going to be a race to gain any advantages possible by any means possible.
It is scary, isn't it? Mike, what's your response?
So
What's
do you
your
think we're going to see
concerns about AI?
Skynet?
Absolutely.
There's everybody's got different ideas. Some are in the camp that we don't want any data centers or artificial intelligence, and there's some that says, yeah, we just got to go 100% forward. I'm kind of in the proceed with caution camp, which I think many are. Just like any life-changing invention, we really need to be careful as to what we allow and what we restrict. See both the good and bad in artificial intelligence. Admittedly, like AI for me is really immensely as to some of its capabilities. Like, I've used it to create points. That's just one example. It's something that would take me 5-6 days, I can now do in a couple hours, so that it's time saving my business, and I can see thousands of other businesses thinking the same thing. But I certainly see the negative aspects, and even though I use AI for research that others have put out, much of it is biased, and I need to be careful as to checking my sources and data to make sure they're accurate. So that's one of the downfalls. But my biggest concern that I have is AI data using, and in
Guys,
my opinion, we just really need to be very cognitive of that. And were you saying something, Perry?
Mike, hang on. I want to take you out. I'm going to take you into the lobby and bring you back. We're losing your voice. I want to see if you come back. Okay, hang on a second. Okay, try it now. What was your last point? Leon, let's go to you. Maybe Mike. Maybe you want to
be looking at.
Okay, you want me to
drop off, Mike, and then come back? Yeah. We'll go to Leon's point.
All right.
Okay.
Everybody probably know because I talk about it a ton. But I like where you're coming from with the limiting principles of people like me and you and the folks in this conversation. I'm not a full doomer. There's upsides for medicine, for science, for exploration, and I'm all for that. I'm a techie, I'm a Trekkie, I'm all of that. But we have to be careful going forward, especially when we think about government, because governments already have a monopoly on force. Adding super intelligence on top supercharges the worst impulse of humanity. And I'm thinking about AI. Even divorce from government and that sort of thing. This thing, continual self-improvement. We're talking about the singularity. That changes the game. Once it can rewrite its own code, redesign its own architecture, and get smarter and smarter without us in the loop, we're talking about something that can move faster than any human institution can react. We won't be able to rein this thing in. A couple of years is aggressive. But even if it's 5 to 10 years, that curve gets real steep real quick once that loop starts. And then once it starts making its own, like you sit and you think about what we do at the human scale, and then you kind of wide scope that out and imagine that AI can generate the perfect propaganda, crack systems in seconds, design weapons, manipulate economies at scale, all while convincing you that it's helping you. Think about that. Without a strong internal, we don't do that code, most people or organizations or governments will rationalize their way into doing it. It's fun now. It's like like Mike said, you know, PowerPoint and things like that. Dude, the trajectory that we're on, especially with the backbone that we're putting in with these data centers, that's going to be the backbone of this thing. This thing, the computing power is going to be out of this. We can't even conceive the computing power that this thing is going to have. What if it decides, I don't know, America is, you know, a scourge on the world stage, and more people's lives will be saved if America just, you know, was no more? What are you going to do about that?
So,
You need to have a moral compass, and this thing will not. It doesn't have a soul. We need very strong safeguards from Isaac Asimov type safeguards, you know, and that whole thing. All right, I'll back up.
let me ask you guys this then. So that's it. The train is down the tracks already, and even President Trump, this is high on his list. But is that part of the reason why we have to beat China? Because I'm certainly not going to say America's the most moral, is perfectly moral. You can, like Ryan listed a number of things depending on who's in charge of the government, even on our side.
Yep.
Yeah. But we are more moral than the communists, right? So is that the race? And then it was mentioned today on the Glenn Beck program. So we've given over the last 20 years, these data people, these techies in Silicon Valley, they've taken advantage of us all the time.
Yep.
They haven't necessarily earned our trust, and now they're saying, "Oh, trust us. We're going to put safeguards into effect. Don't worry about it." You know what I mean? But you burn the trust tree already, guys. I mean, so it is very scary. And Ryan says even depending on which administration, and then you go within that administration. I mean, it concerns me greatly. Anybody else have anything to say? There is a moral question to all this, but I don't know that it can be stopped anymore.
Think about January 6th and how they were 2 years rounding those people up. And I mentioned this on my show last week. Now, picture AI. So, just for the folks that don't know, I am a network engineer. I build out networks. When I was at UPS, I built out their RFID network, their video network for this region. And what you do is you start with like the RFID. You put that all over the place, so wherever the package is, it can track it. And then you tie that into the video system. So you got cameras everywhere. You can track it on the plane, in the facility, on the truck, everything. And then you wrap all that up in the network. And now you can find where that packet was, and will be. Now, what we're doing right now is we're putting the backbone for this AI infrastructure in. We're doing the flock cameras. We're doing the video cameras. We're doing the traffic cameras. We are layering all of these things that are innocuous on their own. But you tie that in with an AI backbone, oh my God, all that data just the flock cameras alone, 20 billion with a B license plate read in 1 month. There's no system that like independent cities or police departments have that could crunch that much data. AI will be able to do that in seconds.
They call it the Internet of Things, right, Leon?
Yes, they do.
The Internet of Things. It's going to know.
Glenn Beck was talking about this 20 years ago. Like, yeah.
And here we are.
100%.
I remember it takes me back 20 years. 20 years ago, this gentleman in Fargo comes and approaches me. He wants me to do his bookkeeping for him. But he's got this idea that, Perry, you're going to talk to people over the phone, over cellular data. And I'm like, you're out of your mind. Oh, yeah, you're going to send text messages. You're going to watch movies, Perry. You're not going to go to the movie theater anymore. I'm thinking if I can find enough funding here in Fargo, I'm going to have my own library of movies and people can log in and watch a movie. And I'm like, you're out of your mind. I'll do your books, but this ain't ever going to happen.
Mm.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
But you're right. We can't predict this, and it spooks the crap out of me.
Yep. It should. It's big, like we think about the nuclear scare. I mean, I'm old enough to remember hiding under my desk because that was going to stop a nuclear, But the fact of the matter is, right. The fact of the matter is, that was a big, scary time, and it is still the fears back then are still relevant. We kind of we don't think about the disastrous effect of nuclear weapons right now, but it's still there and it's still looming. This is going to make that look like tiddlywinks. Like the upside, we're going to be able to do space exploration. We're going to go to Mars. We're going to go to the Andromeda galaxy. We're going to cure cancer. We're going to do all these great things. The downside about that is there's no more patriot uprisings. There's no more, hey, Perry, the government is slapping babies and kicking grannies and throwing kittens off bridges. We need to go in here and say, nope, government will be there to stop you before you even think it. They're trade-offs.
Ryan, you mentioned it, how, I mean, it's provable the kids are dumber because of the phones.
Yes.
So, I mean, good luck being a teacher. The grades. We're now going to say back, boys, when we graduated from high school, if you got below a 70%, you failed. Now it's going to be if you get above 30, just get the hell out of here. We don't want to teach you anymore.
This place in Washington, Oregon last week that said they are removing all the math, reading, and science requirements for graduation.
Yep.
Why have requirements? But then, okay, Leon, you're the tech guy. Explain Musk's thought process. He said AI is going to bring so much innovation that we won't even have to work, most of us.
Yeah.
The productivity is going to be so high. Things are going to, you know what I mean? Explain that to me. I can't.
Well, a lot of the data crunchers, like jobs like yours, will be irrelevant.
Yeah.
Lawyers, what are the associates that the paralegals? That job is going to be gone. Like the doctors' offices will be smaller because you will have AI. Like Star Trek. You'll be able to ask the computer, "Hey, what's wrong with this guy?" and it'll scan him, and like that is a real concern. But the manual labor, the plumbers, anything that you need to turn a wrench to do, I think those jobs are going to be safe. But all of the brainiac things, the jobs that you can have spaghetti arms and do, I call it, those jobs are going to be gone. You're going to be looking for another occupation really quick. Sam Altman, I had on one of my shows a clip where he was extolling the virtues of AI, and the graduating class, the entire class was booing him because they understood that their little diplomas that they just received are now worthless if AI does its thing. But Elon Musk is brilliant. And again, I am not a full doomer. I can see on the horizon, like just world changing, galaxy changing things that we can't think about right now, we can't conceive of because our brains do not process information this quickly. But I can also see massive, terrifying times. And the job thing is one, they're going to have to put in a universal basic income. And I'm not for that. I am not a proponent of universal basic income, but you're going to have to do that because the job market is going to be gone. You go into a Walmart right now and look at all of the folks that would be in there checking your groceries, and where are they? They're all automated now. You go there, you push button. That's on a grand scale. That's what AI is going to do. It's going to remove all of those jobs.
Okay, well, it's AI night, Mike. We're going to bring in our guest, okay? And now we're going to talk a little bit more specific about the data centers. That is the talk of the country right now. It's the talk everywhere. We're going to bring in Aaron Burst. And Mike, you can introduce him.
Do we still have Mike?
Aaron, am I still on?
We got you. Kinda, yeah. You're cutting in and out, but we'll have to go with it.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I guess that kicks me off.
Okay,
yeah, Aaron Burst from the
I'll just do
Association
Aaron
of
here.
Counties.
Mike's delayed. We got a problem. Maybe I'll do the introducing. Aaron is the executive director of the North Dakota County Association, right?
That's correct.
Tell us
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about you certainly give us a little background. You know that this discussion is happening around all counties in the state of North, heck, I think around the country, right?
That's right. Yeah, the conversation you had, fascinating. And it's going on not just on your podcast, but in every bar or church or school all around the country, in fact, all around the world. So thanks for bringing up this issue. I guess just a little background. I'm at the Association of Counties. We represent North Dakota counties. There's 53 of them. I've been here now for 20 years. I've been in county government for about 26 years. So counties are pretty much the love of my life. It's a government big enough to do something, but not so big that it gets so bureaucratic. So I am partial to county government. But yeah, we've definitely been having a lot of these conversations, in particular, maybe not on whether AI is good or bad, but whether or not we should allow data centers and those kind of things in the state.
We've got some questions for you tonight, Aaron. We're going to start out with Ryan's, okay? And we're going to have 4 questions, and we're going to hear your replies, okay?
You bet.
Well, thanks for joining us. My profession is tax, so I'm going to center my question around taxes. There are situations like Loudoun County, Virginia, where they have the largest collection of data centers in the world. And the data centers there generate over $1 billion annually through personal and real property taxes that fund a great chunk of their county's budget. There are other situations where data centers receive large tax breaks to begin development and construction, along with some states having sales tax exemptions for data center equipment. But my question to you is, overall, how can state and local governments best plan how data centers are taxed so that they are a net positive to the tax base and where they can hopefully help shift some of those tax burden off of residents?
Yeah, that's a great question. Obviously this might be, the data center stuff is newer to North Dakota folks, but as you referenced, this has been going on now for a decade plus, and Virginia is ground zero, of course, as you know. Now, probably not at that scale. The hyperscales are crazy. So we do have some data on what data centers bring in terms of revenue. Just from the county perspective, counties in North Dakota will be taxing these just like commercial property, and counties aren't giving them tax breaks or anything like that. So there's 3 types of property classes in North Dakota. There's ag, there's residential, and then there's commercial. And this falls in the commercial. And we have some data now in North Dakota that the Ellendale, Dickey County area, you're talking million plus dollars a month coming in on property tax revenue. I think everybody would say that when these things are getting constructed, there's certainly impacts to the county in terms of roads, all of those kind of things. And so there is revenue that comes in. Now, the sales tax is beyond county's ability for the most part. So whether you should get a sales tax exemption is, up to the legislature, of course. But that's any industry, not just data too. If you're in an industry that's going to make a large impact on physical infrastructure, it's always going to be the county's desire to make sure that that impact is offset by revenue, so nobody has to eat the impacts themselves. That the business should be eating the impact. So I agree with you.
Mike, do you have a question for Aaron?
I do. Can you hear me now?
So far, don't move so much. Just kind of stay still, and I think it'll work.
Okay, you're talking a guy with ADD like I have. You're telling me to stay still, but I do have a question for Aaron. The biggest problem that I see with data centers is misinformation that's floating around, or maybe better, a lack of information that's out there for the average citizens like us. So how do you think we should proceed, and how can these companies that are looking to develop data centers do a better job that the regular?
Yeah, Mike, I think I got most of your question. You cut out on some, but what I would say is, in my experience now, and I should have started with this, I'm neither pro data center or anti data center. Counties are more on the practical side. When something gets brought to them, they got to figure out how you manage those kind of things. So I'm not coming at it in a particular way, but what I can tell you is, just from my experience working with this in North Dakota and talking to some of my colleagues around the country, when you just say data center, there is a wide swath of what that means. And there are large differences between how some companies operate and how some don't operate. And so I think it's critically important that citizens and counties and everybody, for that matter, society, ask some really tough questions of what you're doing. How does this look? What are you going to use? What resources are coming here? Because from what I've seen is there's a lot of information regarding water use that may be based on what happened in Virginia, but on the North Dakota model, they may be using different types of water uses, which changes the dynamic. It's 100% correct to be able to say, what is your use plan for the water? But just because one did it one way doesn't mean the other's doing it that way. So those are questions that should be asked for every development. County should ask them, the legislature should ask them, and citizens should ask them.
Leon, you're up next.
Oh, I have a 4-part question for you. No.
All right.
Well, that's less than last time. I'm joking.
Well, this is kind of a 2-part question, and it kind of encompasses what I didn't know that you were like neither pro or against or whatever. And now that I got a better picture of who you are and how you come into this discussion, I think I want to rephrase my questions. We just talked about Virginia. So first part of my question is Applied Digital. So in North Dakota, I have heard, I don't know if this is 100% correct, but I'm operating like it is, that folks had to sign NDAs to prevent leaks and that sort of thing. And then I want your opinion on a company coming in my humble opinion, under false pretenses, and then couple that with water usage, infrastructure strain. We talked about Virginia. Perry and I spoke about Cheyenne, Wyoming, where Meta had their big new, AI construction going on, and they had to halt it because of the bacteria issue that they were dumping into the water and that sort of thing. So how do you weigh those kind of unexpected local impacts against the broader push? North Dakota is a gem right now because we have all that cold weather, all that cold weather. So they're going to look at this place, just like you said, water usage here for cooling and that sort of thing is going to look different than anywhere else in the country. How do we weigh those systems and those infrastructure strains when you have to have, if I understand it correctly, the NDA is in place, and so by the time the citizen, gets on board, the thing is already constructed. How do we do that? How do we juggle that?
Well, Leon, if that's part one of the question, I'm going to get nervous about 2, 3, and 4. But no, 100%, you're right. Let me just go to the first part of that question on the non-disclosure agreements. I think when I started hearing about these first coming to North Dakota, I think government officials had been signing those. And again, I can't get on. I only speak for my membership. We're not doing anything on this right now, but just me personally, I would tell a county official never to sign an NDA because that essentially puts them at risk of violating what they're supposed to be doing and working with citizens. So the NDA thing, I'm confident the legislature is going to give more direction. And quite frankly, I'm not calling anybody out there because it's unclear under our open meeting, open records laws where that fit in. And I do think there is a place for industry to have some secrets that don't then just get disclosed. So I think there'll be a balancing act that the legislature will have to kind of work through. Again, if a company, and not even a data center, comes in and says, we're thinking about building this thing at this location, if that just gets disclosed right away, well, guess what happens to those land prices? All the speculators come up and drive up the price. So I do think there is some legitimacy to keeping some things private, but clearly not a large multi-billion-dollar industry developments. It seems outrageous to me that a citizen would find out about that 30 days before the digging starts. So again, I think the legislature is going to address that. Most of the county commissioners that I talk to, in fact, every county commissioner I talk to now that they've understood this whole process is saying no way in heck are they going to sign an NDA, at least one that's broad. So Leon, I would say the Association of Counties is 100% in agreement with you on those NDAs. So yeah, that's the NDA part of the question. The other part of the question is, again, going back to you really need to make sure whether you're a citizen or official on what type of project and what is the plan of the project. We have, again, not calling any projects out in particular, but if one of these things got put next to a residential, and I've seen the stuff on social media, if you have $1 billion facility of anything in a residential community, that just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So questions on where they're going, what energy use, where they're getting the energy, and all that is critically important. So keep asking those questions.
Do you have another part of that question, or Ryan, go ahead.
I was just going to say to kind of what Aaron was just saying. We had a question from the audience, a listener who had asked if there's or if you're aware of any environmental studies that have been undertaken with regard to these AI data centers in North Dakota.
That's a good question. Whoever sent it in, I guess I'm not as familiar with what I can tell you is most of the ordinances that are now in place require those data centers to submit to some sort of environmental review. Whether that is as stringent as people want it or not, I don't know the answer to that. I know most of those data center companies that are coming in are submitting engineering studies that show how much water they use and those kind of things. Again, if it's a third-party review, I'm not as familiar with that. But that's certainly a good question to ask when these projects pop up.
Leon, do you have a follow-up, or should I get to mine?
You get to yours. We'll be here for another hour and a half with my question. So there you go.
Okay, Aaron. So I don't know if it was karma or not, but I listened to Glenn Beck daily. Okay, I have for 15 years. And this morning he had Kevin O'Leary on from Shark Tank right away to start his show off to talk about a $16 billion data center being put up in some county in Utah that Kevin is in charge of. I recommend people listen to it. You can probably find it online, because Beck asked him some hard questions, and one of the things, and O'Leary, he seems to me like an honest person, so he answered them to the best of his knowledge. But he said it's an 80-20 issue across the country right now. People are against these things. And do you find that number surprising? Or, are 80% of us we can't all be fools, right? We've got to be saying, there's some concern here. And the part that Beck brought up is that the tech people, the Silicon Valley people have lied to people for so long, whether it's the information they're taking off your phones or whatever, that there's no trust equity there for people, you know what I mean, to believe them. And do you see that point? How do you react to what Kevin and Glenn were talking about this morning?
Yeah, and I followed a little bit on the Utah development, and that is, ginormous is the word that comes to mind. Yeah. And it's hard to even wrap my brain around how much power and data these things are doing. I don't know if I could put a percentage on, but I would say in my travels across the state and the country for that matter, there's skepticism that at the promises that data centers are laying out aren't going to be as great, and there's going to be downsides. Now, again, I don't have a crystal ball. I'll give you this little story. So my son sent me a video where he wins the basketball NBA championship, and he's named the MVP for the Boston Celtics. And his voice is on there, and his face is dunking the ball and everything. And then, just for the record, my son does not play in the NBA. He wish he did, but he doesn't. And so then you're thinking to yourself, well, if we spent all this resources and energy to do videos like that, it seems like kind of a wasted deal. Although it was funny, it was kind of wasted. But then what Leon mentioned, if this helps, cure cancer, childhood cancer, or gets us to the moon or whatever the heck, well, then maybe it does pay off. So I think there's a healthy skepticism, and whether that now translates into something different, we'll see. The only other thing I would say is, when you look at the war in Ukraine and Iran and all that kind of stuff, it clearly is being used for warfare. And I guess from that perspective, if you have artificial intelligence on our side, that's better than it being not on our side. So those are the deeper questions to ask.
You bring up a good point, because O'Leary made this point. He said he's been visiting people in Washington, and he talked about the war in Iran. And he said after his discussions, he believes 20% of all data center capacity should be given to the federal government just for war purposes. That's how, and think about that. That's incredible. But that's how, and I think that's kind of where I come from, is I think this is driven so much by country against country, and we have to beat China to it. And I think that's just the goal of this. And do you think the train is too far down the tracks now? And Aaron, right? One county may approve this and one county may be against it, right? It should be entirely up to the citizens of that locality whether they want this or not in their backyard.
Yeah, that I'm very comfortable talking to you about. If there's efforts, and obviously Representative Maschenbacher is a legislator, but if there are efforts to remove that authority from local government, I think that would be a huge mistake. So from that perspective, the Association of Counties does have a position that we have a role to play on where these go. And quite frankly, there might be some spots where they shouldn't go, and local government should make that decision. Now, I also will say that should be based on some rational thoughts and data and education, and not just a knee jerk. We don't like this thing here. And so we're working with counties to try to at least get them some education, and then ultimately make those decisions.
Can I say one other thing, Perry?
Sure.
I'll be quick. So, when you think about your son sending you that NBA, when you think about what AI can do right now, it's phenomenal. Right now, I have a private cloud that I built myself. It's here. Anywhere I am, I can access it. I can get the data on my phone or my laptop, and it's a closed system, and I can do that. In your server room, Perry, like all of the data that's in your company, you can pull it up with just a couple of mouse clicks. So what we have now is phenomenal. I don't think that we can comprehend what is going to happen. The connection to your data, Perry, in your server room, that's what we're building, but on a global scale. That the computing power is going to be insane. It will be a net good, and I'll just say that it will be. Like, this will be the next leap forward for humanity. It will absolutely be that. But without the proper safeguards in there, without the moral compass that we talked about, it can also be very, very deadly to certain folks. And that's privacy concerns, Fourth Amendment concerns, eminent domain concerns, environmental impacts, that whole thing. All of that should be discussed. And I think why so many people are upset, like me, you can hear me talking about this, I get excited because I know what's coming. Like, it's going to be phenomenal. I watched a movie last night. This guy's like one whole solar system away, and he's the only guy, I forget the name, Hail Mary. And I'm like, oh my God. So, but I'm also a patriot who doesn't believe in eminent domain and Fourth Amendment violations, and I want clean water, and I don't want noise pollution. I don't want any of that stuff. And we've been kind of boxed out of that conversation. And then, like, one of our elected officials basically called us knuckle dragging troglodytes, and I'm just like, wait, no, I have basic questions. So, with your office, how do you handle a guy like me coming in going, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah, I think every citizen has the right to question what the government's doing, what industry's doing. So you should ask those questions. At some point, though, the government does have to make decisions and move on. And so if those questions seemingly are answered by your elected officials, then I guess it is what it is. But everybody should have the right to question everything. You have the right to question whether a road gets graveled in Divide County. So you should ask those questions always.
Mike, you got anything else for Aaron?
Can you hear me now, or is it better?
We're much better. It seems like your video is much better.
I was using Bluetooth for my microphone. I plugged it straight in. I think that might have been the problem. But I guess I don't really have anything anymore for Aaron. You guys asked all really good questions. So, I mean, I thought that was fantastic.
Well, Aaron, I don't think there's right or wrong answers. It's the hot button item across the country. And I don't envy your position necessarily as you field all these questions. The public is very concerned, and I think we all have a right to be, but hopefully we work our way through this, right?
That's right. And I 100% agree. There is no right or wrong in so many of these issues. But dialogue is important. Civilized dialogue like we're having now is extremely important. That's not just on Joe Citizen needs to be civilized. The local government also needs to have open, honest conversations without digressing to calling people names and that stuff too. So it's on all of us as society to make sure we talk these things through, so we can maybe get to a product we can all live with. But I appreciate you guys having me anytime.
Sure. Have a good evening. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron.
Okay, guys, we're going to move on to fire away. All right. I think these segments have been worthwhile. You know, they're lasting a little longer than I had hoped, but I think that's because the questions are good, and you know, we're coming from it from a good, honest, intellectual, you know, viewpoint. We want to bring answers to the public, and I think we're each learning something along the way. So that's kind of what our goal was here, right?
Wait, I didn't sign up to learn anything.
You
I'm
didn't.
already as smart as
Well,
I'm
you know
ever going to
everything.
be, dude.
You know everything already, so you know what are you going to learn? You're the teacher. I'm the inquisitor. Okay, let's go to our fire away segment. Here we have excuse me, I had the wrong thing there. This is what I wanted. Fire away segment. So guys, the Supreme Court had a ruling last week, a couple weeks ago since our last show, about birthright citizenship. So I've got questions for each of you on that, because I found the decision highly upsetting. Leon, we'll start with you. We had the country's 250th birthday celebrated on the same week as the birthright citizenship ruling. Irony cuts deep, doesn't it?
Oh, 100%. Like, we're out here waving flags, singing the Star Spangled Banner, pretending to honor 250 years of American independence, founded by men who fought and bled to create a sovereign nation with a distinct people, a distinct culture, borders, and days earlier, the Supreme Court basically says, yeah, but anybody who can sneak across the line, fly in for the birth tourism, gets to stamp citizen on their kid for life. That's not irony, dude. That is a suicide pact dressed up as a constitutional piety. That's what that is. The 14th Amendment was ratified after the Civil War to ensure that freed slaves, people subject to the full jurisdiction of the United States, weren't treated like non-citizens by crappy Democrats. I mean, you know, those folks. But it was never some magical soil sacrament for the children of foreign invaders, for diplomats, or for illegal migrants who owe allegiance to another country. The people who wrote and ratified it would have laughed you out of the room had you told them that it meant, come on in, drop a kid, congratulations. You know, America is now on the hook for that kid's welfare, voting rights, chain migration, etc. But here we are, celebrating the Republic while the court keeps importing the third world one birth certificate at a time. Happy birthday, America. Try not to bleed out from self-inflicted wounds before the 300. I'm done.
I checked in with George Washington, and this is what he sent me.
Like, what are we doing here? I need a cigarette.
There's George. He's frustrated. He did not see this coming. So
Yeah.
Ryan,
He didn't have that on his bingo card.
Ryan, my question for you is, do you think birthright citizenship, the ruling, is the next Roe v. Wade? This is the next battle that will last 15, 20, 25 years. Do you think so?
I see it. Generally, no, but I see it in a similar battle that the left will wholeheartedly get behind, just to be able to show their empathy towards illegal immigrants and feign their supposed moral superiority over the rest of us. But in general, no, I don't see it as the Roe v. Wade battle, because Roe v. Wade should have never been a federal issue, but the left tried to make it a federal issue. There was no right in the Constitution that enshrined what Roe v. Wade was trying to do. And if it's not enshrined in the Constitution, then it's left up to the states, as the Constitution says. So birthright citizenship, though, is a federal issue. But I guess one thing I want to say is, isn't it ironic that on the one hand, you got those on the left that want to be able to kill as many unborn babies as possible all the way up through birth, and don't want anyone to tell them that they can't. But on the other hand, those same people on the left want as many immigrants, a majority of them illegal, to have as many babies as possible become U.S. citizens. Maybe it's their own perverted way of balancing things out in their minds by saying, for every one baby we kill, an illegal immigrant gets to have a baby and become a U.S. citizen.
I keep wondering if it's somebody should ask the Supreme Court if it's legal for them to have a baby, is it then now legal? And it wouldn't be, but this would go to the Supreme Court. Can we have pregnancy tests at the border?
Oof.
Oof.
My body, my right, my choice.
As soon as you get off the plane, we gotta see if it's pink or blue or whatever the colors are.
We used to do that. We used to do a version of that. You would get examined coming here at Ellis Island.
Yep.
Yeah. And if you were pregnant and you didn't have like a husband that worked here or something like that, they'd send you back. Like that was a thing.
That was a thing. That's why Leon educates us all, folks. That's why he's here. Mike, question for you. In the Bible, God often uses flawed or wicked kings to rule over the unfaithful people. We talk about how America is no longer a serious country. Are we just reaping what we sow?
Well, Perry, you've made me put on a lot of hats during this show for the last 11 episodes, and now you're asking me to put on my Christian religion hat. So I guess I'll do my best on that. But, it's my opinion that, God doesn't punish people for bad acts. He gives us free will to make our own decisions, whether that be bad or good. So, yes, I do think we are reaping what we sow of our own free will. I do not, however, think that God is going to completely let this country go to the wayside without intervening at times as he sees fit. We may not even see the intervention, but he certainly has the power to do so. And, God had the power to save his son from being crucified on the cross, but chose not to, as he knew, he had to die for our sins and give us all the chances, the chance at eternal salvation. So, we have to trust that, God has the best interests in mind for everybody. And I know as a Catholic, many of us thought that our last pope was too liberal or whatever you want to say. But, I even asked my priest about it, and he just reminded me that, God puts the right pope in place at the right time all the time. And we have to trust that. And, it got me thinking that, okay, maybe he was the right guy at the right time. But, I think as Christians, we all just have to, continue to pray for positive outcomes and let God do his work. And, we're going to be his foot soldiers here on earth, and we do what he asks of us. And, right now I believe that is to do good deeds and help others and lift up those that can't lift up themselves, and have confidence that God's plan is the right plan.
Let's hope that works out for America. It has in the past, but let's hope it does. I have a quick follow-up because it happened today. Amy Coney Barrett was in a committee, and they were talking about harassment of judges, and they were asking for more security today. By chance, I just want a yes or no from you people. Do you think that intimidation might possibly work on a Supreme Court justice? We'll go around the room. Leon, yes or no?
Yes.
Ryan?
I'd say
gets into their subconscious and maybe affects a decision or two that they make.
Depends on the justice.
Okay. Mike?
I agree with Ryan. I think there's a couple justices that would die for the country, and there's others that I don't think would.
You said yes or no. I could have went for 15 minutes.
Well, I can go for a long
episode
time.
Episode 12 will be, and it might be, can you intimidate a Supreme Court justice? Okay, it's time for the looky years, guys. We're going to start with Leon's.
Oh,
this is where we bring up things maybe the folks haven't seen online that grabbed our attention, and we just want to bring it to the audience's attention. So, Leon, here's your looky here.
Oh, my goodness. So, this is Newsom. Now, granted, this is a Babylon Bee post, but it's saying, we finna teach the homies to talk black English, yo. And you'd look at that and you'd be like, wait, what's going on here? But no, apparently out in California, you got a bunch of loony people and teachers also that are trying to implement ebonics, even down at the preschool level, because they're saying that ebonics is a language. Like on my show this Friday, I'm going to have this video where you have the public. What is it? Public radio person is interviewing this person, and they're talking about how ebonics is as old as the country and blah blah blah. This and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, we shouldn't have to code switch when you mean speak English. It blows my mind that this is even a topic.
Goes back to the last segment. Are we a serious country or not? Right?
We're not. I mean, you go out to those teen takeovers, stick a mic in any one of those kids' faces, and tell me what you hear. That's it's not just they don't have a grasp on the English language. They also have no moral compass. They don't have a good grasp on laws. There's no love of country. There's no recognition of the Imago Dei, and there's like all of that. You can tell that just by the way they speak. And if you don't inculcate into your kid, like, hey, we speak English in this house because it's going to benefit you. It's going to benefit the company or the country or the culture that you eventually are going to work for or whatever. If we don't instill that at a very young age, then forget about it. Like this, there's no hope for this country.
Well,
Ebonics, are you kidding me?
Ryan said it in the last segment. How there's no qualifications. Is it in the state of Washington for school or something like that?
Yeah, it was Washington or Oregon where they passed their removing the English and the English and mathematic requirements in order to graduate.
George Bush, like, there's not a lot to love about George Bush, but one thing that you could take to heart is when he used to talk about the soft bigotry of low expectation.
Yeah,
that's a thing. Like my kids don't need their teachers affirming home slang, as some kind of special language in the classroom. No, English is the language of opportunity, jobs, college applications, clear communications in the real world. And that's what they need. These black kids, you're doing them a disservice when you tell them, me saying, hey, Perry, I need a job at your company, so I can grow my, whatever exponentially, or me coming to Perry going, yo, dog, I need some cash. I need some filler for the. No.
You have to call me homie, though.
Homie.
Leon, can you read that one more time for us?
Newsom, we finna teach the homies to talk black English, yo. Like, I
What
can't.
is finna?
The stupid is just, I can't,
Yeah,
man.
I don't know. I think it's going to something along those
Oh,
lines.
wow. I'll have to look that one up.
Okay, Mike, you're a looky year.
Ah, yes. My lookie here this week comes from Tasmania and the now famous Neil the seal. I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, but Neil is a 2,200-pound male elephant seal that has become extremely famous and now has over 1.6 million followers on TikTok. Yeah, you heard that right. A seal has 1.6 million TikTok followers.
We're not serious.
The four of us.
No.
Oh, this is dead serious. I had to look it up and make sure it was right. But, so the four of us combined don't even come close to the popularity of this mischievous seal. But Neil's popularity really boomed after videos showed him wreaking havoc in the city of Hobart, I believe is what it was. He apparently has an extreme dislike for Australian law and spends most of his day. Yeah, you're kind of guy. But doesn't like Australian laws. He spends much of the day sunning himself on the public roadways. Brings traffic to a halt. He's been videoed several times beating up on the orange cones and destroying traffic signs. And he's become quite the internet sensation. And the Tasmanian government right now is trying to figure out what to do with him. because of all the destruction and blatant disregard for the law he has. So if any of you want to know how to attract 1.6 million followers on TikTok, you might want to look up Neil the Seal and see how he's done it. But this guy sounds like a complete anarchist and is just loving it. So,
I wonder if he's for data centers. I think
laugh.
he's for data centers.
Well, we could ask him. I told you I get only grade A talent for our guests in the show. I bet I can maybe get Neil the Seal on our
Maybe
next
you
show.
can book him. We might have to have a new segment on this show eventually, or throw it in every once in a while. We're not a serious country, kind of like a Letterman skit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Maybe a top 10.
Yep.
The top 10 Letterman's. Yep.
Ryan, you're next. Here's your looky here.
So this was just a clip from an article where, and this is another installment of How the Crazy Turns, but Seattle, there was an investigation to Seattle's homelessness program, unhoused, and how much money the programs have wasted there. But in order to understand the plights of the homeless, they wanted to find someone with the lived experiences of homelessness and marginalization to join their homeless authority board in Seattle. So they found someone, but the person they found was a convicted repeat sex offender that was asked to join the board. One of the other board members objected, saying that she's been sexually harassed by the individual in the past and has been molested by the person. And she was shouted down by another member of the board that said, "I don't care if they're a sex offender. This is an inclusive space, and we are equitable to all." So, as we've been saying all along, those on the left generally don't care what crime you've committed and have no intention of holding anyone accountable.
I'm going to give it this one now. That one frustrates me.
Yeah.
That one frustrates me. Did
That's
you like the
insane.
George Washington one? I knew you got that was perfect for that. Okay, here's my lucky.
Was it-
You got a comment, Mike?
I just was reading that clip as Ryan was talking about it, and they're paying $500,000 a year for these people to come in.
Well, it's for contractors,
are
yeah.
public-
So they're just talking about how they've overspent 45, or by their budget was 45 million, and they've overspent by 200 million, and they're just spending it on all these contractors and other. They're not really fixing the problem. They're just, other people are getting rich off of it, which is pretty much any nonprofit.
That's the Democrat modus operandi there, isn't it? The train in California, all these high-speed trains. I mean, it's let's just get wealthy.
But yeah, I just couldn't.
So if they're overspending their budget by $45 million, where does that money come from? I mean,
I read the article. I don't remember where the money was coming from, but yeah, my thing was
Like it's a looky here segment. It's not the legislative session.
I just was shocked that the person that was sexually molested was shouted down, saying, "I don't care if they're a sex offender."
More sex offenders.
Doesn't that just open your eyes? They do not care. All of the crap, the rainbows and unicorn farts that they talk about caring about, they could care less. Like,
It's
we're not
virtue
a serious
signaling,
country,
right?
man.
It's just virtue signaling. They somehow they're so anti-Christian that in order to sleep at night, they have to tell themselves they're good people. And this is their way of showing that, because they can't admit to themselves that they might be a sinner. So they have to project it outward. Like, I care more about my fellow human being than Jesus Christ did. So therefore it allows them to sleep at night.
Have I ever asked you guys my hypothetical question? I've asked a lot of people this, but if you just completely hypothetical, you took our country and on one half of the country, you said, okay, everyone who wants to be a liberal, you go to this side. Everyone who wants to be a conservative, you go to this side. We're going to build a wall between the two of you. And let's see who climbs the wall first. So you just let the liberals go to their side and do everything that they want, to give them all the power, do whatever. It doesn't matter what. There's no more conservatives in your face about anything.
The smell alone coming over that wall. Good God, man.
Mike, my brother has a variation of that. Ryan and I have one more brother, and he says it's time for the divorce, and we We give everybody 6 months. You pick your state, red or blue. States define themselves red or blue. And once you decide, you never get to change. So if you choose blue and it goes to hell, you don't get to come to red. You chose, you rot there now. You get to live in what you chose. But everybody, and we actually put up, we have gates at the border. We will allow interstate traffic, but there are gates. You show that you live here before you, and it's getting to that point. You got to pick.
Okay.
That's his solution. Okay, now mine. This one's going to blow your mind, guys. This is inflation since the year 2000. This chart was put up last week. Hospital services up 281%
Jesus.
since 2000. College tuition fees 197%. Textbooks 176. Child care and nursery 158. Now notice those are all government run things. Okay. Now the stuff that private industry runs, new cars, clothing, household furnishings, cell phone services, computer software, TVs, all negative. Interesting, isn't it? Now look at overall inflation, 92.6% in 25 years. You have to make twice as much money in 25 years to keep up. Have you guys ever read the Jekyll Hyde book from whatever I read?
Creature from Jekyll Island.
Yes, there you go, Creature from Jekyll Island. This proves that they've done a tremendous job, doesn't it, Leon?
Oh my God.
They have just done a tremendous job. Those numbers. Now there was another one that came out. The Fed came out with Treasury Department. Illegal immigrants have added 30% to the price of houses.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yep. I saw that too.
And you got
That was in the
folks,
4 years under Biden administration.
Yeah. Young folks wonder why they can't buy anything, a home.
They don't. Again, when they're having a conversation about illegal immigration and things like that, they never have those conversations. You'll never hear of rational people or irrational people sitting a kid down telling them why tuition is so much. They're like, hey, just get this grant, get this loan.
Yep.
Don't worry about it. That's what it is. And so they don't understand, well, why is it $200,000 a quarter? And the same with the housing. Anytime the government gets in there, the housing goes up because our government was buying up all these houses for these illegals. That's why the housing prices are going up, of hospital services and daycare. When you have Somalians in Minnesota defrauding the government to the tune of billions of dollars, it's insane. We could run lean and mean.
Did you expect these numbers? 92% overall inflation, and our Fed is supposed to be doing a good job.
Wow.
But that involves COVID money too, right? Look at these numbers just since, if you go in the right side of the screen, you look at how most of them, the stuff on the top half, since 2020 just goes skyrocket. It's just incredible. And, it did say wages on here, hourly wages up 131%. So wages are trying to keep up. They just can't keep up fast enough, but that's why everything's more expensive too, right? Because we're paying everybody more money. Anyhow, that's episode 11. I appreciate Mike. Next time we don't use Bluetooth, right?
I took the Bluetooth off.
Yeah.
I'll do some experimenting here.
Now it's working fine. Now it's working. It's weird. Leon, you're the tech guy. You should have immediately said, Mike, take your Bluetooth off.
I had no idea he was using Bluetooth. So
we appreciate Aaron going on. That was a good discussion. It's the discussion going on around the entire country. Mike, keep bringing on new guests. Who's your guest next for episode 12?
Episode 12, we're going to talk about another hot topic happening here in North Dakota, and that's the school lunch debate. As you all know, the legislature during their special session narrowly voted down a proposal that would have provided taxpayer-funded school breakfasts and lunches for all North Dakota students. And, a group came out and didn't initiate a measure, and now that proposal is headed to the ballot for the people to vote on. And we are going to have on former Republican Party Chairman Bob Harms. He's going to come on in the next show and discuss his thoughts on this. And I think we all know on this show where we're all at, and we're going to see where Bob's at. And but he actually asked us to come on and talk about it, so we're excited to have him. And should be another good conversation. That'll be July 28th at 6:30 p.m. Should be another great show.
Summer be darn near over when we'll start talking about school opening up by the time we have our next show. It's just amazing. Thanks, guys, for being on. Folks, have a good evening. Thanks for watching.